I am an American citizen. I was born and raised in the United States of America, but in 2024, I made the decision to leave the USA and move abroad. And as time has passed, I've been constantly reminded of why I made the right decision. And look, if you're an American that's on the fence about leaving, or maybe if you're from outside of the US and you're looking into going to the US, this is a video that you're probably going to want to watch. Because look, I'm not the most up to speed on current events in the US. After all, I moved abroad to get away from the US, not to stay in the US mentally, but physically be somewhere else. But this has been happening so much as of late that these clips have been finding me rather than the other way around. Bearing that in mind, let's get into this first video.
He's a citizen! He's a citizen! He's a citizen!
This is the moment federal agents held a 19-year-old man to the ground outside a Chicago convenience store.
I'm telling them I'm a U.S. citizen. I'm here. I'm legal. I'm born here. So they didn't try to hear none of that though.
The video was filmed after a border patrol vehicle collided with an SUV during an immigration enforcement operation. The collision sparked a hostile reaction from the nearby crowd. Yoreli Jimenez, who filmed the video, says she saw federal agents chasing occupants of the vehicle into a Walgreens store.
Get the
Jimenez told CNN she and two others ran into the store to film the incident, but were confronted by agents when they tried to leave. Jimenez and King say he was taken into custody, but released later that day.
I just graduated high school, so they could come from literally anybody, and that's not right.
CNN has reached out to the Department of Homeland Security for comment about this incident.
And they're probably not going to hear much from the Department of Homeland Security because they know that what they're doing is wrong. Now, if you disagree with me, then first of all, maybe this isn't the video or the channel for you to be watching. But I want you to just imagine for a moment that that person right there who was on the ground was your son or your brother or your grandson, however old you may be. Imagine that that was somebody who you care about very, very much. I know if that was one of my friends, I would be livid. If that were my son, if I had a kid and I saw a video like this of my kid being wrongfully harassed by these ICE agents, I would crash out. I'm not gonna lie. I would give them a reason to handcuff me, best believe. But when I see stuff like this, it's like, why? The guy asked him, why were you running? Well, maybe because you were chasing me. I mean, if I'm walking down the street and a pit bull starts chasing me, I'm not going to sit there and inquire as to why he's chasing me. I'm going to turn on the jets and show him how I could have been an Olympian had I trained for it. Because nobody's going to sit there and watch somebody who's fully decked out in a bulletproof vest, no facial features showing, all masked up and everything, probably armed. Nobody's going to sit there and watch somebody like that just chase them and not do anything about it. I mean, they're either going to fight or they're going to run. That is human nature, especially for someone who is 19 years old. And you know what I love about this video? I love that the people are fighting back. I love that they're fighting back. Now, look, I'm not trying to insinuate that people should resist with violence or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. But I love that they're not just standing by and letting this happen without, at the very least, bringing exposure to the issue. Cell phones, honestly, may be the greatest invention of our lifetimes just for this reason alone, because it's very difficult to control at least the, I don't know what you would call it, casual press, so to speak. So not the actual media, but just the consumer level content. When people have literal content creation machines in the palms of their hands. Speaking of which, on to this next video.
They are 911. That's the thing. I don't think it. No, it's good. It's good. I said it's yeah, I'll do all right. And that's yes, we can. You have to push it. Yeah, you guys don't break the door to get in there?
Yeah.
Man, that's foul as shit, bro. Yeah, you gonna hurt, y'all gonna hurt him like that.
Garcia, open the door. Garcia,
Open the door.
Open the door.
Open the door.
Open the door.
Yeah. Yeah, that's you.
You guys see
Garcia,
him?
Garcia, I'm gonna go back to your dad. I'm gonna go back to your dad.
No le hagas caso. No le hagas
I'm
caso.
gonna get your mom and your dad.
Oye, no le hagas caso.
You guys
No le
can't
hagas
y'all can't
caso.
tell him that though.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, you can take it to go get his mom.
Yeah. Man, identify yourself. I need your guys' back. Get back up. We don't have to show you nothing. Hey, get back. Get back. Get back. I don't have to show you anything. What does that say? What does that say? That's identified.
You got a warrant?
We got one.
You don't have his number.
Who are you? Can you guys hear me? Who are you?
It's public property. It's public. It's public. You're trying to go on private property.
All right, it's good. It's good.
I'm gonna go back and get your dad and your mom.
No le hagas caso.
Why tell him
No le
that?
hagas caso.
Just because you can't get him, why tell him to go get his mom and
Yeah,
dad?
bro, that's overflow.
That's overdoing it.
Your dog is
Soy Merari.
No le hagas caso.
So yeah, that's about it. Tell him we got you. But tell him to get his mom and dad.
That's how we do.
Porque ahorita la amiga llegó aquí en el gimnasio y aquí a un lado.
Let's go.
Yeah, man, hey, just
Sí,
I'm
entonces
try to get one
dijeron que hasta toda la lista de los años que estoy hablando con ellos.
No le hagas caso.
Y Jojo, dígale Jojo para que venga.
No le hagas caso.
Que yo estoy grabando con mi teléfono, dígale que no. Sí, pero que no me hable.
No le hagas caso.
A ver si llega a tiempo. Bye, la prendía. I called my mom.
Yes.
Do you need a phone to call someone? It's okay. I'm following Charlie right now. And who's following them already?
They've been following us for 3 days.
Oh shit.
It's your dad.
There's a lot of
That's your dad.
spectators here. No, there's a lot of traffic. All right. That's you. You come in. That's the warrant. That's your name. That's your name. That's your name.
Okay, so there's so much to unpack in this little 2-minute 49-second video. The first of which being these ICE agents are wearing uniforms that say the word police on them. Now, I'm not completely privy to how all of these laws work, but it's my understanding that impersonating a police officer is illegal. Now, maybe they've been given some sort of special privilege in that regard. I do not know. If that's the case, then let me know in the comments. But that's strike number 1. Strike number 2 is saying that you're going to go after his parents. That to me is where a line is crossed. And I'm going to go back to that point here in a second. And I might get in some trouble for making this video, but before I say what I'm going to say, let me just say this. Again, it is not my intention with this video or with any of my other videos to incite or inspire violence in the US or elsewhere. Violence is pretty much never the answer. Evidently, these ICE agents seem to disagree with me on that sentiment, but different discussion for a different day. Another thing that really stands out to me here is that they are seemingly being deployed primarily in blue cities, blue states. I don't know what Lynwood is, but it seems to be in the LA metropolitan region. LA is overwhelmingly blue. The first video being in Chicago, it was overwhelmingly blue. And it's very strange to me that the government feels compelled to deploy these special troops and services to these blue cities when in all actuality it's the red cities and the red states that have the highest violent crime rates. But I guess it's okay as long as they're American citizens. Makes no sense whatsoever. The places that have the highest gun ownership, notice they don't really send ICE agents over there, and there's a reason why. Now, look, again, it's not my intention to incite violence, but I find it very, very ironic, painfully ironic, that the same people who voted for this to happen, the same people who want to see this happen, are the same people who are pro-gun, which means that they are pro-Second Amendment. Now, why was the Second Amendment put in place to begin with. It was put in place to prevent this sort of thing from happening. Now, again, I'm not saying that the answer is to start shooting ICE agents. What I am saying is that it's incredibly ironic, and they seem to conveniently forget this logical fallacy in their thinking, because if they were using the Second Amendment in the way it was actually intended to be used, these sorts of things would not be happening, rest assured, because it seems like these people are not very trained, these ICE agents. They're not very trained. They don't really understand how to diffuse hostile situations. They're not emotionally intelligent. It seems like they're damn near just picking people up off the streets and training them with a little 1-hour video and sending them on their way to go and pick people up. That's kind of the impression that I'm getting, because nothing about them screams professionalism. But I guess you shouldn't really be surprised in a country where you can become a police officer in as little as 3 months. But I digress. Let's go ahead and check out a couple of these comments, because some of these comments really stood out to me. This first one says, "Brown against brown for a white man." Now look, I'm not the one to pull the race card all the time. That's kind of my last resort in a sense, but in this case, it is very much appropriate, and the reason why is because these ICE agents have received full authority from the Supreme Court of the United States of America, the land of the free, so to speak, to racially profile people. They get to racially profile people. If they hear you speaking Spanish, or if they see you have a certain occupation that Hispanic people typically have, or immigrants in general typically occupy, they are allowed to essentially harass you on the basis of their preconceived notions. In other words, their own stereotypes. And to me, that right there was pretty much the nail in the coffin. When I saw that was the nail in the coffin for me ever moving back to the US. At least as long as the current administration, or the echoes of the current administration, have power in the US. Because this right here, I mean, again, threatening his parents? What? Threatening his parents? Look, again, I'm not inciting violence, but let them come after my parents, and I'm going to show you what the Second Amendment looks like. And I'll be well within my right to do so, because that's why it's there. Not saying that's what they should do, not saying that's what you should do or anyone should do. I'm saying that as a human who is flawed, that is probably where my mind would go initially. But I digress. Let's look at another one of these comments right here. The irony when those maggots didn't want to wear a mask during COVID to prevent disease, but wear one to trample human rights. I love that she brought that up. I love that she brought that up, because that is so true. Look, I'm from Texas. I come from Texas. That is a red state. That is a state that voted for this administration. And we were, if I recall correctly, one of the first states to get rid of mask mandates. In fact, I think by the end of 2020, we weren't wearing masks anymore. And I say we because, unfortunately, I was very likely part of that. Again, I'm flawed. I am flawed. I was part of the problem. Not that I voted for this administration, but that's besides the point. The point is, it's very convenient that they feel the need to wear masks for what they're doing here, but they didn't need to wear masks when there was a literal pandemic. Now, obviously, they're not wearing masks to prevent diseases, because you saw the guys weren't even wearing gloves. They weren't wearing gloves, so it's not about that. They want anonymity. The reason why they want anonymity is because they know what they're doing is wrong. And that begs the question, why are they doing it? You know what this actually reminds me of? Recently, my girlfriend and I watched this movie called My Best Friend Anne Frank, which obviously it's about Anne Frank and the Holocaust. And something that really stood out to me in that movie, and something that I didn't really think about, was the fact that they were actually running up in people's houses and establishments, just like you saw these ICE agents doing. They were doing the same exact thing. And you might be thinking, well, Jordan, are you really comparing what's going on in the US to the Holocaust and the Nazi occupation? Aren't you being a little dramatic? Yes, I am comparing the two because when you look at them side by side, there are striking similarities, the only difference being that there seems to be a lot more resistance against this than there was against the Holocaust because, again, people have cell phones and information spreads much, much quicker and it's more democratized. But also, when we look at some of the signs of fascism, I mean, I'll put 3 on the screen right here. We see, for starters, disdain for the recognition of human rights. Because of fear of enemies and the need for security, the people in fascist regimes are persuaded that human rights can be ignored in certain cases because of need. The people tend to look the other way or even approve of torture, summary executions, assassinations, long incarcerations of prisoners, etc. Identification of enemies/scapegoats as a unifying cause. The people are rallied into a unifying patriotic frenzy over the need to eliminate a perceived common threat or foe. Racial, ethnic, or religious minorities, liberals, communists, socialists, terrorists, etc. Obsession with crime and punishment. Under fascist regimes, the police are given almost limitless power to enforce laws. The people are often willing to overlook police abuses and even forego civil liberties in the name of patriotism. There is often a national police force with virtually unlimited power in fascist nations. Bearing all of that in mind, and by the way, I'll have a link to the full list of the signs of fascism in the description of this video if you want to read through all of them yourself. But bearing all of this in mind, do you still think I'm being dramatic?